What is going on, everyone? My name's Boyd, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the top of the map in the red color, playing as Hades. His name is Kimo. His opponent today in the blue color, playing as Thor. His name is Shelty. The map is Blue Lagoon. This is a best of 5 for the Voobly Champions League season number 2 semi-finals. My golly gosh. If this is not a simple rehash of the best finals, I don't know what it is. Shelty and Kimo going at it here. We've got Shelty coming into this game with the Thor. Now, on Voobly Balance Patch 5.0, Thor had some pretty significant changes. Change number one is in the starting gold mine, you get 750 gold in the archaic age. The second one is 1500 gold in the classical age. And then the heroic age and mythic age are left alone. Now, I still advocate for attempting to hold it onto it till at least the heroic age if you can, unless it's a water map. But if you have to chuck it down in the if you have to chuck it down in the classical age, it becomes so much more valuable because the extra 500 gold you get there generally allows you to mine that gold mine all the way up until you're the heroic age, all the way up until you can then slap a hill fort down on your second gold mine, secure that, and feel like you're in a fantastic position. The other change that Thor got was it was a buff to Thundering Hooves, basically a reduction in the food cost by 50 food. So now it's only 250 food. Much easier to get, much more happy to get that one there. Now Hades, on the other hand, the only real love that Hades got shown was a slight quality of life. You could argue it's a buff change to the Achilles unit, the heroic age unit. Every single Greek civilization got this change, and the Achilles went from 350 food to 200 food, 150 wood, exactly the same as it is on Extended Edition. Now, this is technically a reduction in its cost by a small amount because wood gathers faster than food, but I think calling it a quality of life change is a little bit more accurate because it's simply very difficult to get that unit out. It always felt so clunky having to spend so much food on the heroic age unit. And for Hades, it's actually quite a strong unit, the Achilles unit. Unlike Zeus, where the Heracles feels very underwhelming, it's kind of more of a tank than a counter myth unit. It doesn't really do anything. If you get onto the myth units, they can just run away from it because he moves so slow. But the Achilles, he's a speedy boy. I think it goes at 5.0 speed, maybe even 5.5 speed if I'm wrong there. I could be wrong. And it's very, very useful. So I guess we'll see what's going to happen. We see the temple coming down. The wall's already coming up for Shelty. Shelty is one of those guys who's always been a strong player, but never really was a top player, like a top 5 player. He was always sitting in that region until very recently, like a year or so ago, where he started to really dominate Smurf tournaments and win some smaller tournaments and stuff, do well in the bigger tournaments. And recently he's been making an argument for being top 2 in or top 3 even in the Titans kind of power rankings, if you will. So we'll see how he's going to go here. He has unfortunately had to meet up with Kimo, and I believe this might have been, I think Kimo might have dropped his set or somewhere or didn't finish all these games or something in the group stages. I can't 100% remember, but I don't believe Kimo placed first, which is why Shelty is having to play in where Shelty did come first. So a little bit of an unfortunate showing here, going into a potential final match here in the semi-finals, but it's still going to be light fireworks here. We got the Athena coming through for Kimo, the Freya coming through for Shelty, Herses popping out, going to be throwing down the wall segments everywhere, making sure he's nice and defensive here. You can see this beautiful wall here with the slightly exposed gold mine. Let's check out what Kimo's spotted on the map. He hasn't yet scouted Shelty's base shed. He's going to be looking for some sort of a raid And let's see what he spots with this. He sees the wall. He doesn't see the gold mine just yet. He misses the gold mine, so he doesn't realize that there's a gold mine here, though maybe the walls do give that away. He's going to be searching around, has found the hunt, going to be sending that Ajax up to the top hunt. And this is partly one of the reasons why I advocate against getting this Ajax early. Simply, if you don't know where to go with it, it's not going to do all too much. Relics on the map, we do have the blanket of Empress Zoe, the extra negative 5% building crush vulnerability on the map, and also in the corner, not being scouted, we have the Trio's bow. Very, very strong relic there indeed, giving the extra range on those Toxotes. Now, the longhouses are coming up. The Ajax getting pulled back. We've got stable, Millet stable. Ooh. If you've seen any games where a Greek player goes stable barracks against Norse recently, I think you'll find that they've been fairly underwhelming. So this is kind of exactly what Shelty wants to see. The Hippocon, they don't get a bonus against anything that the Thor player is making. The throwing axemen, they don't have a ridiculously good time against the Hippocon, but they don't have a bad time because they've got no hack armor. Then the raiding cavalry essentially counter everything else in one way, shape, or form, especially when they get to full population. So Shelty's going to be pumping out the raiding cavalry basically en masse. If you can get full pop raiding cavalry, should be able to deal with these units that Kimo's going to get. What I would like to see from Hades in this matchup a little bit more of is potentially like some villagers on favor for an extra Minotaur, because the Minotaur can really change the way the fight goes here. And we'll see if Kimo can even afford to produce from all of these buildings. It looks like he can, but he's not building from the military academy here. As the raiding cavalry going to be searching around, trying to find some stuff. Raiding cavalry for Shelty moving forward here. Going to be attempting to hit Kimo's units, but Kimo's ready to deflect this attack. But Kimo not paying attention for the time being. The raiding cavalry should come in, see if they can get some kills. He's going to go straight after the throwing the Toxotes here, and then pull back. Nice play by Shelty. He's still got his Valkyrie alive somewhere, looking for some raids with the other set of raiding cavalry. I love this play from Shelty, attacking multiple different places at once and keeping that economy going. You can see he's already got 10 villagers on the gold now. He can start getting that food as well. He does have Hunt in the middle of the map that he's not going for at this point, but maybe he doesn't need it. He's got a lot of pigs here. Does he have husbandry? He doesn't have husbandry just yet. It doesn't look like it's coming through, but he is getting medium cavalry. So now his cavalry going to be very, very strong. The raiding cavalry going to be continuously returning back onto this location here. And then once this rhino expires, where does Kimo go to get Hunt? It looks like he's moving forward here, but this could be a little bit of a mistake because Shelty should be able to continue this harass a lot easier here. We see the forest fire coming. The villagers get pulled away here. Now the raiding cavalry coming back in onto this location, going to be hitting this and opening this space up quite a bit. We see the villagers turning around. Nice micro from Shelty to snipe one villager. They're going to be retreating away from this location here. Just completely abusing his speed advantage in this game. These raiders going to be looking for something else. More units coming forward here. We've got 6 of the throwing axemen. Even though there's only a couple of those hoplite here. Kind of wish they were all raiding cavalry, but it is looking like Shelty is going to be going for a semi-fast heroic age here. He's cut units. He's got his armory up already, and he's going to be hitting a 930-ish heroic age here is what you have to be guessing. The raiding cavalry just going to keep on keeping on here, returning back onto this location. Looks like the village is going to be attempting to grab this town center. A little bit of an overextension here as he is going for it, but that will give Kimo access to an aggressive sentinels and access to this hunt. And Shelty can't really deny it, especially because there is still a restoration. And look at this, Shelty able to keep these raiding cavalry alive with next to no HP, but I don't think that Shelty's got any healing units out. I think his Valkyrie was sniped at some point here. One more villager. It looks like it's going to be more like a 10-minute heroic age here from Shelty. A little bit too much gold income, but the gold mine will be finished. I would expect to see the gold mine thrown down here. Maybe he can move over to the corner, but there's really nowhere else he should go. The other option is just to throw these dwarves over to wood until he hits the next age and then cast the dwarven mine. But we'll see what Shelty's going to do. So just kind of deciding what he wants to do. He's coming over, going to grab some of the gazelle over here. Dwarf's going to be sneaking out as well. This is something that Shelty does quite a bit of. Sneaks his dwarves out. And one way you can kind of pretend like you're not doing this is by casting the dwarven mine preemptively, not actually gathering from it. But if you cast it in your main base, maybe your opponent, it won't check in. We do see that the Catoscopos has been picked off, and that's going to alert Kimo to make a movement over there. But this could be a mistake because Frost on these units, when they're out of position, you can just kill every single one of them for free. Now the raiding cavalry moving in onto this location, going to be going after these villages. No sentinels are being cast because there is a home base sentinels being used. The dwarves have been spotted. And surely Kimo's going to make his way over onto this location here. But Shelty should be able to react and defend against this as the dwarves all come over here. This could be a ridiculously strong move here from Kimo. The units all coming over here. The dwarves going to be fighting back a little bit. They do have extra HP. There is the frost hitting these units. The Hippocon over here do dodge the frost there as well. How many units got frost? There's like none. This is one of the worst frost I've ever seen Shelty use here, but we'll see if it's going to work out for him or not. He does have this town center to deal with, which is in front of him. The unit's going to be going after this. He has a frost giant over here. He can throw down his hill fort here as well. We see the raiding cavalry attempting to chase these Hippocon down. The units of Kimo over here with those Hippocon in the back going to be chilling. We see a third town center from Kimo. What I would love to see here from Shelty potentially is go straight to the Mythic Age through Tier and then utilize that Thimble Winter to give himself a little bit of an advantage. But it's looking like he's not going to have the resources to do that. One thing he could do is show the Dwarven Mine down in his base and then start mining from it and then mark it and then trade his way to the Mythic Age if he so chooses. And the point of that would be to go for a gold staff. So you cast Thimble Winter and you just keep raiding gold left, right, and center, get your town center back and make sure your opponent is hurting. But now Shelty with the big population advantage, 115 population to 93. Kimo is getting his third town center up, so he's not in a bad position. And Kimo is simply just going to attempt to hold until he wins the game. That's going to be his aim here. We do see the villagers trying to get the storehouse up here. Lots of units in the middle of the map as the raiding cavalry coming in. We don't see Thundering Hooves. The unit's going to be splitting up a little bit. He is throwing away a raiding cavalry there as he is retreating away from the Greek army. The question is, what is Shelty doing with the rest of his army? He's coming around, going to be trying to circle these units. Does hit one of those Toxotes as he's retreating away from these units. The throwing axeman in the middle of the map. Maybe he could sneak around and grab this town center for himself as a weird play. But we'll see if that's going to be an option here. The raiding cavalry not coming, going to be jumping onto the back of the Toxotes. The Toxotes do have extra speed, so they can kind of retreat away. There's the restoration coming in for Kimo, but Shelty very smart. Just going to retreat those raiding cavalry away where all the damage is being done. The throwing axeman in the back actually doing the bulk of the damage here, is the raiding cavalry just happily going to be able to distract the majority of Kimo's units. These throwing axemen pick off literally everything here as the Minotaur does go down as well, picking off more units. But Kimo, he's at 108 population. He's doing very, very well for himself in this situation. Now Kimo going to be just ignoring that army completely, coming over here, potentially going to hit this hunt, hit this gold mine, get some economic damage done onto Shelty. Shelty sitting at 37 villages to Kimo's 59 villages. And you see the Frost Giant hitting one of those villages as he's pushing it onto this location. Going to keep on pumping those units out. The units are going to come over here. There is a small escape route for Shelty if he wants to use it, but the raiding cavalry, is that going to be enough to deal with this? He should be enough. The dwarves not retreating just yet. There Shelty goes as his raiding cavalry coming in. He can turn around and fight this with his dwarves, just losing a couple of them. He should be fine. Meanwhile, the units just chilling underneath this town center fight. It's not exactly what you want to do. The Chiron actually going to be dealing with these Frost Giants very well as well. And that's going to be a lot of the power spike here from Shelty falling to pieces here. But he is able to deal with these Hippocon nicely so far. Has gotten himself heavy raiders, so these are starting to be incredibly strong here. But the problem for Shelty is, what's his scouting look like? He hasn't spotted this gold mine. He knows there's a gold mine going on here, and he needs to get raiding. The ox cart does end up living here. Lots of dwarves did die in that fight. The Frost Giants are still coming in, but an Ajax popping out here, going to start picking off these Frost Giants very, very quickly because they have such a, well, they don't have low hack armor, but they do have lower hack armor than pierce armor. And the town center will live for a very long time, as Shelty is continuously trying to push in here, but he doesn't have any siege. He doesn't have anything else. He needs to hit some raids somewhere because Kimo's economy is about to skyrocket with the crazy amounts of villages he has out. 71 villages to 37 villages. An absolute crazy amount of economy for him. And the big thing here for Shelty as well is, where is he going to go? What is he going to hit? He doesn't know that this gold mine is being gathered. He sees only one villager on this gold mine. The army for Kimo is so very, very strong here with the ball of those Toxotes. Yes, the Frost Giant's going to help a ton, but he just keeps on retreating away. The Chiron coming in to help out. The units sort of sacrificing themselves into this town center. And Shelty's got no idea where he needs to be raiding at this point. And he does need to be raiding. He needs to be picking off villages because he's way too far behind on the economy. He is managing to eat some hunt in the middle of the map. At this point, the Chiron getting pulled back into the middle of the base here. This Frost Giant's doing a lot of damage over here, picking off some units. As the Chiron goes down again, Shelty still trying to get value out of his army here. The armory upgrades copper shields and copper weapons, whereas Kimo's got nothing. He sort of has free copper weapons on the Toxotes, but that's kind of it. Frost Giant's still running around. Maybe it's time for him to attempt to take down this town center again. I don't know. But Shelty's scouting is really letting him down. At this stage of the game, the Chiron trying to get taken out here, but Kimo's pretending like his Chiron is the son of Osiris here with this garrison micro. The Ajax does pop out, going to start doing a lot of damage here. The Frost Giant's coming over, going to be tanking the arrow fire from those Toxotes, and Shelty realizes he has to leave this location now. And we see the villagers coming over onto this gold spot here as Shelty throwing up his longhouse, potentially going to be thinking about a mythic age. No, not just yet. Now the raiders do finally spot this, or do they? He does spot this location getting gathered from. He's going to be moving up to the top corner of the map, attempting to find these villages, and Kimo does make an immediate reaction to that. Really smart play here. Watchtower's coming up for Kimo as well now for some reason. Is he feeling like he might be getting attacked in his main base? More longhouses are up. Shelty still without fortified town centers and much else. The gold income is starting to flow through. He can cancel all these units and go Mythic Age, but I don't think that Ragnarok is going to be enough here. 46 villages, 47 villages. Maybe Kimo will probably be in the Heroic Age. Will be able to start making some Hypaspis. There's the market up. He can start buying that food if he wants to. And there he goes buying it. We'll see what god path he is going. He's going through Balder. It's a very last ditch effort here from Shelty. No second talent center. It's completely all in. We'll see the raiding cavalry running around, and he's got no trade, and there's very little chance for him to kill off that, like, a town center and get everything going for himself. We see Aphrodite coming through now as well, as Sarissa is coming through for Kimo. Really smart play to grab that. Wait, is that? No, that's not the techno. Yes, it is. Really smart play for getting Sarissa here. It gives yourself the extra hack vulnerability for those hoplites so they can survive even longer against the throwing axemen. And if you got extra wood, you may as well. Nice micro from Shelty here, distracting a bunch of those Toxotes series. The Frost Giant's trying to deal the damage. But one Frost Giant getting flipped out of the party here, chilling behind the walls. Needs to come in and get involved. But Kimo is making some very, very nice trades here with his army. The throwing axemen dealing nicely with the hoplites now, though, as the raiding cavalry coming back in. Going to try and snipe these Toxotes here. And now the raiding cavalry doing a lot of damage. But the question basically is, can Shelty Gold Starve kill a town center and get his economy back into gear? That's the question. He's got 11 farms here, so the answer is probably no. As the Toxotes is sniping one ox cart. There's the Aphrodite here. Then he casts. Ooh, I thought he might have cast Curse there, but there's the Ragnarok jumping up to 215 population here. Looks like he's going to be going for this town center. I actually like going for this town center because the farms are here. If he can rebuild it for himself, which he can't. And if he builds the town center there, he's not going to be able to rebuild villages. Right? He's got one villager here that is happening. He is going to be able to take down this town center very quickly. Going for the back town center as well, as we see an Achilles coming through. These are very strong units with copper shields as well. This town center does fall. The Nemean Lion coming in. Kimo's going to be a little bit careful about how he takes these fights, because you kind of want to fight underneath the town center or something else. As Shelty trying to circle around, Kimo with lots of resources in the back. He's going to start spamming out those Aspest. See the units here falling. We see Curse getting thrown down. There's a couple of pigs here. Very worthwhile to bring them back. Meanwhile, we see the villagers have bailed from this town center, but that's a lot of food economy that's being denied here, as Shelty is hitting this very nicely. So far, Kimo's still at 134 population, doing completely fine here. We see the Rag Heroes sort of getting sniped here as Kimo is taking the fights nicely, but the Rag Heroes still pushing through, still with a decent amount of population here. We do see some raids onto the gold mine over here. Kimo's got gold literally everywhere on the map, attempting to hide and prevent Shelty from gold starving him as best as he possibly can. But he does have a lot of gold in the bank, and these Apaspis, they only cost 25 gold a piece. And you have to pick them off, and they are very difficult to be done. We see the first gold mine getting finished here. And Kimo, he's got his heavy infantry here as well, as Shelty is trying to push through. He has one fire giant, which is going to help out a ton. But the Rag Heroes coming in, circling around the back. These Toxotes need units to be attacking them, but Kimo keeps microing away very, very nicely here, and is keeping himself alive now. We see more raids coming in onto this gold mine now, as more villages are getting picked off. Kimo's at 64 villages now, so he's dropped down from 80, but he's still 60 villager lead, as Shelty is now dropping down to his 115 food. We see the Chiron is getting sniped as well. Kimo at 100 population here. Villages falling, and now Shelty can start building villages, though it's going to be a long way for him. He's got plow, he's got husbandry, so sort of base level upgrades there. The raid's still going on. The raid is going to come up to the top side of the map. I don't think that Shelty is going to check this gold mine, though he probably should. In fact, you should be checking every single gold mine. It's almost worthwhile as soon as you hit the Mythic Age and cast Balder to just send initially just hit like idle military, send one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, just to get an idea of what's going on. But Shelty's still trying to push through here, trying to deal some more damage, but it's just not happening, as Shelty's economy completely dwindling here. Needs to possibly buy himself some more food to get the villager count growing. But he is 50 villages behind, 54 population here, and Kimo has just got too much economy. We are seeing the raiding cavalry dealing with this gold situation up the top, but the units are all falling here for Shelty as his Balder push is expunged. Still sitting 2 town centers. Getting this town center back will net Kimo back all these farms. You can see his economic upgrades good as always with the bowsaw, the shaft mine, everything else. The raiding cavalry is just searching for gold, and Shelty's got to realize that it is somewhere, but he doesn't have the units to deal with it at all. Another villager finally coming out, and now it's 1 villager every 15 seconds for Shelty, and 3 villagers almost 3 villages every 15 seconds for Kimo when this town center gets back up. And I don't see a way for Shelty to really to make a comeback here. But he does find these villages with the raiding cavalry going to be going after this, and Kimo smartly just decides to turn around and start jabbing him. Maybe the fire giant going to come up to the top location, and Shelty realizes that he's got no chance here. After seeing all the villages there for Kimo, the third town center coming back up. And that's the game. GG. Well played by Kimo. But I feel like this is that situation where Kimo greedily grabbed a town center here. And Shelty had the resources to get Mythic Age. And he should have gone for tier immediately instead of putting this pressure on. Semi-fast Mythic through tier, and then push the Fimbulwinter Wolves gets to spawn on this town center. You can push through here. You get this back. You get your 3 town centers. And then you play a late game, a war against Hades, where you're actually in an advantageous position in the start of it. Normally, the problem for Thor in the late game is it never hits late game first, which always means it's really hard to set it up. But Shelty doesn't go for that one there, and Kimo does show off that Hades. He's been working on this Hades quite a bit because he's feeling as if Ra not the best god on 5.0. He loves the defensive gods, and Hades is definitely one of them here. Anyways, Kimo takes the first game. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow button on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.